Welcome to Off the Books, the podcast for savvy e-commerce sellers and bookkeepers who want to take their business to the next level. Let's dive in.
Hi everyone, my name is Nachman. I am the founder and CEO of Connect Books, and you are listening today to the Off the Books podcast. And I have the pleasure of having Jacob Weberman from On Track Bookkeeping join us today as a guest. Jacob, how are you doing today?
Baruch Hashem, I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's always good to be with you and talk about off-the-books topics. So
It's going to be an interesting talk because we're going to be discussing a lot of like off the topics, meaning we're both, I would say we're both very experienced bookkeepers, and we don't want to talk about bookkeeping because that's what we do all day. We want to talk about the nuances and around, a bookkeeping business and to give people tips and tricks of how we go about our businesses and day to day and how we get about our business. So as I begin, Jacob, do you want to give a little background about, about how long have you been doing this? How big is your company, team size, and, what made you go into the bookkeeping field?
So how long I'm doing this? Probably about 17 or 18 years.
Wow.
I started doing bookkeeping just because someone in Koidel told me about a good company, Universal Accounting, that I can learn bookkeeping. I bought a demo. Still had an how was it called when you connected the internet through the phone line?
You did a dial-up connection?
A dial-up connection, yeah. So I had a laptop that I did a dial-up connection, and I watched a demo video or a CD. I ordered a CD, and I watched the demo, and I liked the way the instructor was talking about bookkeeping. He was actually giving a class for bookkeepers, and he had made a video of it. So it came video and like books with journals. It was actually a very good course. That's where I started to learn bookkeeping. And
how did you evolve from being a bookkeeper to getting into a bookkeeping business?
So as everything just happened by mistake, I worked in a company, and then for whatever reason, like 8 months after that, everyone left the company, so including myself. So I finished the course. I got a little training there on basic business knowledge and basic communication and what books are. They were not working on QuickBooks. But since I took a course on bookkeeping, it didn't make a difference. QuickBooks or not QuickBooks was anything. As long as bookkeeping has debits and credits and reconciliation and journals, so that's what it was. Entering bills, cutting checks, recording remittance, and I finished the course, and that course they spoke about the idea of doing bookkeeping for multiple clients. That's where it came into the idea of it. Of course, by then it was still going down to clients, most of it. So I started first. I got just from word to mouth. I got to. So it's like someone wanted him to organize his books. He had multiple properties, construction, like every other person, and also a system not QuickBooks. One part was using QuickBooks. That's where I got introduced to QuickBooks, and I started like doing the basics, setting it up, organizing it, creating new books, and putting the business in order. After a while, we hired another bookkeeper. I trained him in, and I told him, listen, I came here only to set it up, and I'm moving on. So I still went down like a few times a month, but in general, I started accepting another client. Still worked out from my student.
Now, when you hired a bookkeeper, they hired a bookkeeper in their company, they hired a bookkeeper directly under you.
They hired a bookkeeper in their company. My deal was I'm only coming in for a few months, and then you hire someone, I'll train them in.
But then you have to go find a new client.
Yes. So I started going around telling one person, other person. Still had no idea. Nobody did it back then. So one person and another, first you start with some clients who I wouldn't say they're not business people.
Why did you just offer bookkeeping services? Why were you just going around doing setups?
It was booking. I started bookkeeping services as well. It's just the setup came in like in the middle. So
Uh-huh.
Then I started doing bookkeeping services.
I
So
find bookkeeping service, to have a certain benefit of having a certain stability. Like, if I was to take on a client, I agree with them on a certain monthly price, I don't have to go tomorrow find a new account. Like if I don't want to do sales now for a month, I can, sit back and just do my work and, I have to always look at
again,
setup and like
remember, I knew nothing by then.
you knew
I
nothing.
literally knew
So this
nothing.
is
So I
this
was
is
just
what's
testing it
fell in your lap.
out.
Wow. So it fell in your lap and this is what you took.
Correct. And as time evolved, I got one client and another client, a different type of industry, a real estate, a restaurant, a car dealer, a car mechanic, and I got all type of businesser until I figured out how exactly this bookkeeping process needs to work.
And when did you hire your first employee? How long were you working on your own until you hired your first employee?
Probably a year, about a year,
And what made you decide at that point to hire an employee?
because I had enough stable work that I was able to fulfill employee. And it wasn't even enough, but it was just trying to get someone to do the basic work. So I was really running around, and I was like, go. First of all, I was like, I used to go every lunch to the local restaurant, just meet people,
Wow.
just meet people until that restaurant became my client. So I had another reason to go there. So I found there all kind of people, from people I knew, people I didn't know, just schmoozing around. And then I even found someone who was like not within our community, like in Monroe, not within our community, an accountant. So he started sending to me clients, like totally out of the different type of clients, different let's call it out of the box. And so I
And not
started
what
to,
you're used to.
yeah, but like, yeah, like
Mhm.
I took the risk of meeting with other people and putting them in place and organizing
How big is
themselves.
your team size today?
25.
So over the last 18 years, you grew from, first year having nobody to 1 year going on, and then now you're already over 25. Wow. Wow, that's significant. Significant. It's a nice. And where's your team located? Is you mainly in the US? Do you have overseas? Like, where do you keep most of your team?
All over, all over. I still live in Monroe, so I still have a team here. Then I have a team in Williamsburg as well. Then I have a team in Israel.
And why do you like having Monroe and Williamsburg? Why don't you just keep everything in Monroe?
Everything just happened. My sister was working for me from like I needed help, and like after having a team, so she also started working for me. And so she was really in the business, and she was always helping me with building it up and like going to the next step. Like after doing bookkeeping and just doing it, not even realizing what we're doing it till we realize, hey, this is how it needs to be. This is a process that we need to implement. It was always easier dealing with the girls and understanding them or listening to them is when like I'm still in the process of developing what are businesses, what is the bookkeeping business, how do you introduce it to people, how do you understand when people need to stay, when people need to go, and like how to implement new things. So together we did a lot. And then I had someone from Monroe moving, getting married and moving to Williamsburg, so I opened a location there.
Wow, nice. So she basically just like fell into you, and that's how you have another location.
Yes.
So I know we once had a long conversation about this. I'm gonna jump a little bit to a different topic, which I want to discuss is, and I've discussed this with a lot of other bookkeepers. Um, you know, I myself been pretty good at it, but not perfect. Is being on top of the game. So especially if you're dealing with 25 employees, you have an office in Monroe, you have an office in Williamsburg, you have overseas employees. How are you on top of the game? How do you make sure every client gets what they need? How do the employees know what they have to do today? What could be done tomorrow? How do you shift the maneuvers? Are you using like a certain task program? Like how do you set yourself up?
So it started out, of course, when while you grow, you have more people and more clients. I realized I need to restructure the whole company. I tried this, and nobody is willing to implement any changes. So I started having everyone
What do you
writing
mean? What
down.
what did you try? Which ones didn't work?
So I like started to change the way of operation. Instead of being busy like all day and doing everything without an organized place, I started having everyone writing down what they do, how they do it, while they do it.
Where do they
Call it
document? Where do they write it?
so call it as an SOP. So I started out by the idea of writing it down, probably on Word, was
You
it?
set up for each client their own SOP.
It wasn't the professional way SOP. It was just writing down the basic instructions, what needs to get done, and then like the recurring task and all the information needed, and all the questions to start writing down. Now, I never liked the idea that I walk into the office of my team, everyone has a question. If you have a question, let's write it down. Let's discuss it. Let's sit down, discuss it. Not just because I walked by, then you have a question. If I wouldn't walk by, is what? It's very nuts. Not that something is wrong. That I mean, you can't deal with issues just by mistake. It needs to be a process for it. So then, like I had it in mind, I started having everyone writing it down, and I didn't have a task management system. We used OneNote. I think I picked up OneNote by one of the conferences of Scaling New Heights. And then it was also a conference by one of the classes was about task management. And like he was explaining all the issues I was exactly having. So I followed his lead and how to do it.
Who was the one who explained it?
I think his name was Les McCon. Les McCon. I need to look up exactly his name. I still have some books from him. And he was like very good. Yeah.
Okay. So what was what was your takeaways from that
First of all, the way that we operate today, having so many let's call it you get so many requests from so many different angles. You get from email, you get from text, you get from phone call, then it was still BlackBerry Messenger, but everyone everyone is communicating in a different way.
Right.
And you can't have so many places where you get the requests to do anything. You need to have one place and or one organized system. Now, I tell everyone how did we work till now? So the answer was until we didn't have so many way of communicating, everyone had the I still have it here. I forgot the name of it. You know, these index cards. Everyone had an index card, and every phone call that you needed to have was like an appointment. 2 o'clock, I'm having a phone call, and everything was on the index card, and everyone was working on one task on it, on one task on its own. There was no multitasking; it didn't exist. So you need to have a system that you take time to organize yourself and you start working on one task at a time. You're not going to finish all the tasks. It's not going to happen. You need to organize it. You need to prioritize it. And then it starts the second part is what part can you delegate? So I started organizing it. Who is doing what? How does the information come in? Now, how do you actually do it? Where's the instructions to doing it? So first we used OneNote for a while until I had someone who was very good. One of my team was very good in research and software. And I told her, listen, we need to find something. She came to me, listen, I found something. I'm ready. I was, of course, trying out all kinds of softwares, all kind of task management. You know, when you try something out and you're not using it fully,
How many
automatically.
years ago? It sounds like years ago. It sounds like at least like 15 years ago, more.
It was probably
Like
we are
50.
in 2025. I would say it was in 2013, 14, about that
Okay.
stage.
That was already emerging market. Okay. These already
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking now. It was already in the office where I'm now. It was in 2016, 16 or 17.
16. Oh, 16 is very much later. Okay.
Yeah, so I had it on OneNote. I still have OneNote notes. Sometimes I have like a process for a client that I have set up before. I still look up the OneNote, what
Wow.
I've done then. So then I started, she came to me, she found Active Collab. And she made a deal with me. I'm ready to implement it to the whole company. My team was then about 10 people or 12 people. I'm ready to implement it with one condition. Even if you find the best software, we're not switching away before a year.
Wow.
So we started doing it. Of course, we had a lot of backlash from the employees. So I got everyone together. I had them list me what issues they have with their work. And we made like a whole list of all the issues. Then we like, okay, what do you think the solutions will be? So we came together. I knew before what the solution is going to be, but happened to be I made them say it. So once it was their idea, automatically everyone's ready to implement. And I needed to fight with. And I told her, listen, that's what your job is. And even if you're not getting to it, I'm paying you to just sit and write and update on every task what you do. Of course, after doing it for a half year, they came to me. If they wouldn't do it, they would never be able to accomplish what they're accomplishing today if they wouldn't have a system where everything is documented and they're actually spending time on writing it down.
So Active Collab, I'm assuming something like that's like it's very simple, like more like Asana, ClickUps, Monday. It's like a task management.
Correct, correct.
So today you're running
Active,
it.
still inactive.
You're still on Active Collab.
Yeah.
Now, and what do you save all your files? Like you save it in Active Collab or use like a Google Drive?
What type of files?
Let's say client bank statements, reports. I don't know, any document a client
I'm
sends you.
using Bax. I'm using Bax.
You're probably using that because back in 2016 they were the most popular, no?
Correct. Intuit was using them, so I was like, okay, let me use Bax. I like the way they collaborate. I like the way the permissions. I like what I can do with it. So I'm still using it.
I actually switched over. I mean, we actually used to use ClickUp, so we switched over to Asana. Like one thing that I saw in my company, and we actually hired recently an Asana consultant, someone who like help us, set this all up. I would say the best thing is because we paid him so much money, I made sure that everybody.
That's one of the reasons people do something, because we pay someone. I need to make word of
Right.
the money.
It was also good that we had an outside company training all our employees. So we have a total of
But
10.
again, you didn't come of nothing. You had
Oh, we were
documentation. It's
right,
just
but the
putting it in the right
challenge.
place.
So the challenge always is like, sometimes you ever have like we send a client a report and there's a mistake. And then the client goes, okay, so if there's one mistake, I don't know, I'm not sure what else there
How
is.
can I trust it? Of
Yeah.
course, everyone is asking it.
So I found it the same way. When I used to confront the bookkeeper, I say, okay, did you make sure everything in was completed for the client? Is everything ready to go? And then I would find one. I was like, okay, so I already learned it from my clients. I'm like, what else did you miss? So I would say my biggest problem with task programs was we were utilizing it around 80 to 85%. And since we weren't using it 100%, it was never like, let's say, for example, if I want to make sure a client, everything got finished for a client X, because I have a meeting with them in 2 days, I wouldn't go into the task program. I would call up the bookkeeper, say, did you get X, Y, and Z done and whatever. And then by the time I would get on the call, I would, say a little prayer beforehand and, make sure that I'm actually up to speed. But now that we have this all set up, my biggest takeaway was that we're making sure that every single thing we're doing is all in that task program. That was like one of the major things. But also another thing was really getting everybody on board, like you said. And we use a different company, so they also trained all our employees. So it wasn't really on us. The managers got their own training, like how to do dashboards and reports. Plus the managers helped all the employees set up, but the employees themselves got training from this company, which made it easy for them to properly transition and get it done. And one of I think
But you just said three things that you did in one thing.
What do you mean?
You implemented the system. So one of the things is that you had the same checklist, and you make sure that they follow the checklist through the system. Another thing, you have the system which you have the team collaborating instead of calling you up or you're up to or missing something, that you have it collaborate in one place. And then there was that make sure that everyone follows the process. So when you have the system, automatically you enforce that.
So the challenge was that there was a system, but not everybody followed it. That was number one. The reason why not everybody followed, because not everybody got the proper training. And the reason why I never got proper training is because I myself mastered it only to 80-90%, and it wasn't like my core focus. I'm basically making sure that the profit and loss and the balance sheet is correct, not really so much the task program. And I never really took a whole class in it. So here we had an outside company. Number one, they made sure that everybody follows the process and everybody knows how to use it. Any question that anybody has, they knew every single feature of Asana. And if not, they told you how to open a ticket and how to get it all done. So it made it easy. Plus, everybody started putting in a checklist. And then, and the results of it is that whenever I want to know and see exactly what goes on, I can always log in, go over the client, and I see everything is done. There's no red due dates. I know that, everything was done for the client. But one thing I learned a lot, which was that you have to really, when it comes to task management, which I would say my biggest failure in task management was not utilizing it 100%. utilizing it,
Yes.
it's the biggest killer because you spend so much time utilizing the task programs, you spend so much time setting everything up. But if you leave that 10% empty, what ends up happening is that not you're like you're missing the main point. You're basically the books that you do for clients are always going to be 90% up to date because you always have, I mean, sometimes be 100, but I'm saying you're always going to be like around 90%. Oops, I forgot this. Oops. So that's what we tried. That's what we really wanted to avoid. And that's what really we were able to accomplish on having.
We had Joe Woodard here years ago. He came down, I think was in Preston Nagli's office. He came down the first time. I think Cherry organized it. So he was speaking that he was referring to a company that was purchased. Now, what is the purpose of someone buying a bookkeeping company? Everyone knows bookkeeping. You can always get clients. What is the purpose of
They
someone
want to buy
buying
the
it?
revenue.
No. The point is buying the checklist. If you have a good process, you how does the
I
process
shouldn't.
come
I
along?
shouldn't tell. I shouldn't tell anybody my checklist. I mean, I share it with other
No,
bookkeepers,
because we share everything because we believe everyone is still
but I'm
still
not
has
gonna.
the unique thing.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna share you the code base of Connect books.
Of course not, but there's a different thing. But the point is your process. Doesn't matter how much you share. Nobody's picking up exactly what you tell
Yeah,
them
it's
because what is the reason how do we have checklists? How do we have our process? The whole bookkeeping idea is a new idea. When we started, was nobody. Like, how did we get to where we are? Based on our, let's put it, our shortcomings, based on what we figured out the problems, we figured out the solution. Every rule we haven't played because there was something wrong. Every checklist is that's there because there was something wrong, and we figured out that we always need to include this. We always need to include this. As you grow, your checklist keeps on growing. Now, then you alter it based on industry. So the checklists are based on actual experience. Now, this experience, this is something that someone is purchasing. Anyone now, if you can share your checklist, yes. Tell me anyone you share your checklist who's going to follow it 100%. He's going to believe for his clients, the way he does the bookkeeping, the way he does it, he doesn't need this, and he doesn't need this, and he doesn't need this. Nobody's going to follow you exactly. Sometimes they just need the idea in place. So the main value of a company is the checklist.
wow. No, that definitely is. They say one. I once heard a good quote. Someone asked the CEO, "What makes you such a good CEO?" He's like, "One word: experience." He's like, "How do you get the experience?" He's like, "Decisions." It's like, "How do you get it?" It's like by making good decisions and bad decisions. The
Is
experience of a
always
CEO
there.
is by making bad decisions. Bad decisions is you look back and you're like, "Wow, that's not something I want to do," and that's something that I want to do differently.
I can tell you one thing, whenever something went wrong, whenever a report was not good, everything was because the checklist and the process was not followed. Always.
Wow, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. Now, so let me ask you a different question. As we're getting close to time, I want to start wrapping up, and we definitely we'll have to have Yankee on another on another podcast because we have so much to talk about. And definitely, Yankee he's a real pioneer and a major in the bookkeeping industry, and he's here already for 18 years, way longer than I am. And just so much has evolved and so much has changed, and just keeping up and doing all this. So one thing I know you're not a big fan is on WhatsApp. But I'm just curious how you deal with it. I'll just first put on my perspective is that I actually focus more on angle. I want to give service to my clients. So I find that clients have an easier time sending like voice notes than sitting and typing up an email or typing up a text. So I want to go that extra mile for the client. So we let clients call in to the office via regular phone, or they can just send a WhatsApp, or they can send an email. So one of the challenges we were facing when implementing the task program, which we haven't done up until now, what happens when you get an email that you don't want to take care of? Or what happens when you get a WhatsApp that you don't want to take care of now? It's something more thing. So what we were advised to do was like, okay, just listen to the message. If you can respond within 2 minutes, then do so. If you can't respond within 2 minutes and it's something that's going to take you now more time, what you should do is just create a task in your task program, and then you'll follow up with it at a later time whenever you get a chance. If it's something that can wait a week or 2 days, you're like, okay, no problem, I'll take care of it. Just create yourself a task, and you have it out of your way. I know that you don't like to get all these messages. So how, like, is the only way you communicate via email? And also, what happens if you can't take care of it right away? How do you deal with it?
So let's put it this way. Whatever you just described is the exactly rule of any task management. If you can do it less than 2 minutes, you do it. If not, you put it on the list. If you can delegate, delegate. If you're not going to do it, just throw it away. That's usually what you do. Now, what's a problem is there's a few issues in it. The main part is any instant message. If it's not being taken care right away, it's not an instant message anymore. It's a regular message. Now, if the client cannot give you over information besides WhatsApp, then you take the information and you put it on your task list and you do it whenever you got to do it. Now, I say I don't have WhatsApp. Most of my clients, yes, I don't have WhatsApp. However, I have clients that do communicate via WhatsApp. It depends who takes care of their account. It depends how much we charge. When you have a client, when you have an employee who works fully for one client, then you don't have such an issue with WhatsApp. Although I keep on telling them that WhatsApp is not the regular way of communicating, and you cannot expect the same result when you WhatsApp versus when you email.
Why not?
Because in reality, when you send more than one WhatsApp and you're losing the track where you're up to, number one. Number two, when you write something down, as you call it, already there is symptom. There's already symptom in the words, what exactly it is. When you leave a voice note, while the voice note, that person is driving, he's still thinking what he wants. He's changing his mind in the middle of the voice note from what he started. And he end up, okay, let's say you can listen to a 2 minute voice note, and then what exactly did that person want? So he's like giving an opinion, asking a question, giving an order, and then having the solution of the question that he has in the same voice note. What exactly
So
do you need to do now?
you're saying if you make it too easy for them to send you messages, then they just kind of like whenever they want, they just send something.
And then they think they told you something. Now go look for it. Go listen to all these WhatsApps. So it's not a proper way. Definitely not a proper way. Now, you want to do a service, someone is on the field, and you want to be his assistant, that he can just air out whatever he thinks on his mind, and he should just have someone do it. Okay, you can add that service. There's a price tag for it. So I'm structured today that I think we spoke about it already, most of my employees are partners. I took my top employees. It's like a whole different conversation how we do it. But I took my top employees. I created them as partners. Whatever account you take care, you get your percentage. It's like their own account. They all have their own bookkeeping firm under my firm, using my task management system, my process, my reviewer. Everything goes through my process. However, they're taking care of the clients on their own. So now they're dealing with the clients on a personal level. And yes, if they communicate via WhatsApp, we communicate via WhatsApp. But it's part of when you create your packages, some things that you,
Okay. So you upcharge for WhatsApp.
of course, if
What
this
is the
is how you
cheapest?
want to communicate,
What is the cheapest price you offer for a monthly client? Like, what's the cheapest you'll take on
usually 750, between
a month?
750 and 1,000 a month. These clients
And what
usually
is the
do
WhatsApp?
everything.
What is
No
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp, no WhatsApp for a client that only pays 750 or 1,000. And even if I do, we don't listen to it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing your work on a day to day if I
Right.
charge you
No. Exactly.
$1,000. So it's impossible. Now there is one study, I forgot to look it up. There's a study that when you're doing a creative task and you get disturbed, it takes 22 minutes till you get back to your original thought. Getting a WhatsApp in the middle of doing something is distracting you.
Well, yeah, it definitely distracts. I'm saying, but if you keep it on a certain way where, like, when you finish your work, you listen to it and then you take care of it. Like, we
So
don't.
then, okay, so then in other words, so you have like a message box. You're saying that your WhatsApp is a message box that when you finish your work, it's okay. I don't need to answer you right away.
No, in general, I always tell my clients we're not 911. I said, if you have an
So
emergency,
that's
call
fine.
911.
Exactly. That's even when you send an email, whatever you do, even when you call in. But there is WhatsApp. You can sometimes send it, but most employees do not have WhatsApp. I only have WhatsApp by selling QuickBooks because someone starts asking what QuickBooks, what license, what version, what do you need,
It gets
where do
too
you put
much.
it? Then it's a WhatsApp the easiest way. Email wouldn't work. But that's when I use WhatsApp, but that's it. Regular employees, I don't let them use WhatsApp. It needs to go through the system. Now, if for whatever reason you do have it, just make sure that you put it up on the task management system whenever they need to do. And whenever I see that something is wrong, I go back. How did you communicate? How did you ask the employee to do it? Oh, you sent her a WhatsApp 3 o'clock at night, and she needs to see it 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, you already have sent another 5 WhatsApps. So this got lost. Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's how it works. You send a WhatsApp, you have the risk of it not getting me done. It's impossible to keep track on every voice note.
I see. I mean, if you create a task right away, I don't see what the issue should be, but
So you need to have someone creating
because
tasks.
we
I
used to
get it.
also work, yeah, so the bookkeeper creates that. 'Cause we also used to work a lot in email. We used to work through read and unread messages. Today, we don't work between read and unread messages in Gmail.
Go through the
Every time
system.
there's a thing, if you don't take it, either we archive it, take it right away, or we just create a task for Asana. And we do the same for WhatsApp also. A task gets right away created. If not, it just goes from there. Wow. All right, we are hitting up time. Jacob, was great having you. It was great talking to you. And I probably only shared not even a tenth of what we have with to share. We can just
The WhatsApp conversation is not over.
what's conversation not over. It's still a long conversation, but I'd like to hear more about your task manager and active collab and how you deal with it and how you go about it. I think it's a very important topic for bookkeepers to not just using a task program, but I think utilizing it the right way.
Every company, I lately came to the conclusion that every company has the same issues. They need to follow the same process. Just bookkeepers is impossible another way. But every company needs to have a system, a process, a task management.
Right. But bigger companies, not as different companies, have different systems that they can use. We're not always you need a task. Like in my other company,
So the
we
bigger
have
company is the task management. So you have the whole work order process in the system.
right, but
That's the task management.
if you do like one very defined job, like I have customer support, right? They don't need a task program because they have a support ticket they have to follow. They have
So
to just
that's what it
yeah,
is.
okay, that's a task program.
Okay.
Right. I'm saying,
Right.
but then it's not labeled as a task program. But
Right, because they're
different
doing
people in the
different.
organization
Yeah, of
do need
course.
it. Do need it. Wow. But definitely amazing. And I can just share that Jacob always is, I would say, from the most knowledgeable people when it comes to QuickBooks and any accounting. We didn't even get into why he chose QuickBooks and when he started with QuickBooks, but we definitely would want to follow up on that. And I do know that anytime people have questions, they can always reach out to Jacob. And he always
Yes,
happy.
and they can send me a WhatsApp and I can answer whenever I have time. I'll answer. No issue with that.
Jacob has you have told me stuff in QuickBooks that nobody else knows. The one thing that I
Yeah.
still use, yeah. For example, moving enterprise company to QuickBooks Online, no one knows how to do it. You have to do, those shortcuts you have to do.
But now it's easier, I think.
Yeah, but there's no documentation online about it. You have to
No,
do
not really.
no, you have to use the hidden shortcut. But you're
Oh,
saying,
they didn't shortcut. They disabled. They didn't shortcut.
what do you mean that it doesn't work anymore?
Nope, they disabled it
Well, for QuickBooks Enterprise?
to downgrade from online to.
No. I'm talking the
Oh,
other
you're
way. I'm
talking
talking
about? Oh, okay, right.
upgrading from QuickBooks Enterprise to QuickBooks Online. There's no button for it. You have to
No,
use
there's a few keys that you need to click
yeah,
on, and then it works. Yeah.
yeah. It's the most craziest thing. I don't know why they did it, but that's what they did it. But at least I have a good friend like you who can help me and give me all this information. And we definitely will follow up with another episode. And Jacob, if anybody wants to hear more about you or learn more about you, where can they go?
Go to my website, entrebookkeeping.com, and send a request.
And if
Contact me.
anybody, and we also have a great WhatsApp group. If anybody wants to join, we'll have some link in the description to join our WhatsApp group, where you can join there. If anybody wants to hear more about it and stuff like that, you can. We have over 300 bookkeepers there, and it's a very active group where people constantly ask questions. So anytime you have a question, you want to know something, how to do something, you can always go on the group, ask. I respond sometimes. Jacob responds a lot of times.
A lot of good people responding, really
Yeah,
knowledgeable people
yeah,
helping
really
out.
good people. And yeah, and if anybody's looking to hear more information about me, you can just visit our website, connectbooks.com. You can submit a request for any information stuff you need help in. We primarily focus on e-commerce and Amazon businesses. So we're more in the e-commerce inventory space, but we're always ready and happy to help. And thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.